So you started playing Genshin and are wondering how to play the game. This is a guide for first-time gacha gamers. Genshin Impact is an open-world RPG where you can be either one of two characters, Aether or Lumine. You are on a quest to find your sibling, the one you did not pick at the start of the game. When you choose your main character, it does not affect any of the story choices. The only difference in gameplay is Aether being slightly faster world and Lumine having slightly stronger charge attack. Genshin is a gacha game, which has you pull characters with either real-world money or in-game currency that could be found by playing the game. For me personally, I've been playing Genshin since late January of 2022 in version 2.4. I am a free-to-play player, having never spent a single cent on this game. I'm creating this guide for players get through the game the way I wish I would have been shown. This will not cover every single nook or cranny of this game, but it is meant to be an introduction to the game with information that should be useful throughout your experience. This will cover topics I wish were in other guides but were not. A gacha game has players obtain characters via in-game currency with pulls. Primogems are the main source of pulls for characters on the banners. Each time you pull a character, you build pity. As you get more and more pity from pulling, you get a higher chance to get a 5-star character. Pity does not scale linearly, and your pity could be counted in the history tab. The character banner requires 90 pulls, while the weapon banner requires 80 pulls to get a 5-star. Each time you pull a 5-star, your pity resets back to 0, and will carry over to next banner. When you pull on a character banner and get a 5-star, there's a 50-50 chance you get the character you want. The other 50% chance is one of the standard banners. They are Tighnari, Kaching, Diluc, Chi-Chi, Mona, Jean, Dia, and Mizuki. If you lose a 50-50, the next 5-star you pull is guaranteed to be that character you wanted. If you lose a 50-50, there's an extremely rare chance you can trigger Capturing Radiance. Essentially, if you lose a 50-50, it will instead make you win the 50-50. However, this is extremely rare, and Hoyoverse does not explain it well, so neither will I. With the weapon banner, you need 80 pulls to guarantee yourself a 5-star. And instead of a 50-50, it's a 75-25. When you pull, make sure you use Epitomized Path for the weapon you want to get. If you do not get the weapon you want, and you lose the 75-25, you get 1 fate point. These fate points guarantee that the next weapon you pull is the weapon you selected. However, unlike the 50-50, the fate point does not carry over to the next weapon banner. With every 10 pull you make, you're guaranteed a 4-star character or weapon. On the character banner, there will be 3 featured 4-stars. These 4-star characters will have a higher rate of dropping out of the 10 pull you make, each with a 25% chance of occurring. On the weapon banner, it is a 15% chance for the 4-star to be one of the featured 5 4-star weapons. With the standard banner, you should only use Acquaint Fates instead of Primogems. They can be obtained via the shop, battle pass, and world exploration. This banner is the only way you could pull for Kaya, Amber, or Lisa. The starter banner is a scam. Once you use all your 40 pulls for the character, the banner disappears. This takes away all the pity you built towards it. I would not recommend on pulling it. When you pull a repeat of a character you already have, you get something called a constellation. Every character has 6 constellations. Each time you pull, you get something called Stardust and Star Glitter. They can be used in the Paimon shop. The Paimon shop resets once a month. Here you can buy weapons, crowns, constellations, and monster drops. You should only purchase the pulls, since you can farm everything else in the overworld. You can also consider getting the Dust of Azoth, since it lets you convert crystals that are used to ascend characters. This is also the easiest way to get Kaya's, Amber's, and Lisa's constellations. They cycle in once every few months. Now you know that since Primogems are valuable, I'll tell you how to get them. This will not cover every method, because there's extreme methods. Daily missions refresh once per day, and they add up to a lot of Primogems over time. With each version, there are events. There's 3 small ones and 1 large one. The small ones give 420, nice, and the large ones give around 1,000 pull. Then there's the end game. You can do it, however I recommend you only go for the early stages. Exploring Teyvat is tedious, but it will give you the rewards as well. When a new character banner drops, there's trials that occur. The 5 stars give 20 each. Throughout the patch, codes are dropped, mainly during the live stream. The live stream codes give you 300 Primogems. When a new patch drops, 600 Primogems are given for free in the mail. If there's ever any major glitches or mistakes made by the devs, they will give out Primogems as compensation too. Characters are the main selling point of Genshin. Each character has a unique design and a unique backstory, and most of the gameplay is unique, with some overlapping similarities. Most characters do appear in the main story, however some do not, and they are only accessible through events and their respective story quests. When you want to ascend a character, you need 160 of their local specialties, which will be discussed later. Another idea is the boss drops. Every time you fight a boss that character needs, you can get them. However, with the higher world level, you'll get more drops per boss, so you should save the farming until you need to do it. Each character has a unique element. Pyro is fire, Hydro is water, Electro is electricity, Cryo is for ice, Animo is for wind, Geo is for earth, and Dendro is for
elemental power is green.
Each character has a weapon type. There is Claymore, Bow, Sword, Catalyst, and Polearm. Character constellations, when you refine a weapon, they'll have a better ability. Going back to constellations, some constellations give quality of lives, while others can be complete terrible. With each version, there are 4 main events, 3 mini events, and 1 flagship event. It is important to note that each event is limited, and once they are gone, you can never do them again and get the rewards. The flagship events are most of the time voiced, except for the first version in a new region. These events give around 1,000 pulls and have events related to the story happen. These events can reveal new lore or foreshadow future events that will occur in the story. In order to start the event, you are recommended to complete all previous quests related to that event. However, you can skip ahead and start it early if you do not care about the spoilers ahead. Usually each event, they give out either a 4-star character or a limited time exclusive weapon. They also rarely give out 4-star skins for free. There are also 3 smaller events per version. They each give 420, but as a warning, some are time gated, so you should try and do them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you try and do on the last day, you might not be able to claim all the rewards. Around late January, early February is Lantern Rite, where they always give out a free 4-star of your choice from Leeway, and you could select only one. This will cover terms used in the game or commonly used in the community. Archons are the main gods of each region. They usually play a main part in the Archon quest. The Archon quest is the main story and will focus on usually that region. It often reveals major story about your character and the world of Teyvat. Resin is the main source of energy used to get resources in-game. Mora is the main currency of the world. Think of it as gold in an RPG. Ley lines provide both Mora and XP usable on characters. Artifacts are used on characters to buff their damage or supporting capabilities. Domains exchange resin for items that are used to boost your character. Local specialties are used to enhance a character to the next level. You will need lots of them, so try and collect as many as you can along the way. Dailies are your commission quests. Always do them to give you Primogems. FOMO is the fear of missing out. That's what this game uses to hook players and keep them coming. AR is usually abbreviated for Adventure Rank. This will be discussed more in a future part. The 7 quests are Archon, Flagship, Story, Hangout, Commission, Side Quest, and World Quests. Archon quests advance the main plot forward and focus on a specific region. Flagship events are limited time quests that will disappear after a certain amount of time. Story quests are usually about playable 5-star characters. They sometimes can unlock Trouse domains after completing, but they usually pertain to Archon quests only. Hangout quests let you choose a 4-star character, and you can do a pick your path adventure. You can do this as many times as you like, however the rewards are fixed. Commission quests are your daily quests, 4 given out per day. World quests are longer quests that are unvoiced, however they give lore related to the world. Resin is a resource that is naturally generated that can be used to exchange for rewards. Resin is obtained in many ways. Every 8 minutes, you generate 1 resin, so you generate 180 resin per day. The other sources of resin are fragile resin, which is done through exploration and turning in rewards. You can also gain resin by turning in Primogems. However, you should never do this because it is a waste of Primogems. Some of the ways to use resin are artifact, ley lines, and talent domains. However, you should only do that once you get condensed resin. Another resource to spend them on is on bosses, which drop materials, and weekly bosses, which allow you to ascend characters' talents. Before you start farming, you should always go for getting condensed resin. Condensed resin is completed at Leeway Reputation Quest 3. You can craft it with 40 resin and 1 crystal 5 core. Once you consume your condensed resin, it will treat the domain as if you did 2 battles instead of 1. Not all domains are available every day, so plan ahead. When you increase your adventure rank, you unlock new features. The max adventure rank is 60. However, as you increase your adventure rank, the leveling is not linear. As it's shown, it takes longer to get newer levels the longer you play. When you increase your adventure rank, you can increase your world level, which lets you get more boss drops and loot from monsters. Here's everything that gets unlocked as you increase your adventure rank. The main way to increase your rank is by consuming resin, all your daily quests, which scale off your AR rank, do story quests and quests in general, and finally doing your exploration by turning in rewards and opening chests. Genshin has a lot of exploration and is the best way to get Primogems. When you open a chest, you get sigils, and you can turn them in to get Primogems and Shrine Keys. Shrine Keys are used to open special kinds of chests, which give out more rewards. Another thing is, even if you 100% an area, it does not mean that you have all the chests. Sometimes you are blind and you just miss them. And most importantly, chests do not respawn. Then there is reputation. As you explore, you can unlock more rewards via taking on quests for a specific region. Once you reach a high enough level, you can get compasses, which let you detect chests. Each region has oculuses and one-time domain chests. You can turn them in and get rewards. Some of these rewards include stamina, Primogems, Shrine Keys, and that region's sigils. Another way that helps with exploration is character talents. Kaya and Amber both give speed talents, which reduce stamina consumption. Some characters' talent mark region-specific materials, which you should always pick up. They are Cleve and Mika for Mondstadt, Yanfei and Chi-Chi for Liyue, Goro for Inazuma, Tainari and Sethos for Sumeru, Liddy and Cloran for Fontaine, and Kachina, Mulani, and Kanich for Natlan. Some areas are better than the rest. For some reason, Liyue gives less Primogems. Instead of 5 Primogems, you should start farming artifacts at AR 485, since that is when you unlock the highest domain, which guarantees at least 1 5-star artifact and a chance of a second 5-star artifact. The entire endgame is about artifact grinding, and it is the worst part of Genshin, since you could go months without getting a good artifact, and even when you get a possibly good one, it could roll terribly. While I said you should only farm artifacts at AR 45, that doesn't mean you shouldn't use them earlier on. For instance, there's several artifacts that give you buffs that are really good regardless of where you are in the game. Viridescent Vernier shreds elemental resistance of a swirled element by 40%. Noblesse Oblige buffs all allies attacked by 20% for 12 seconds after you burst. Ocean Hue Clams converts any overhealing into bonus damage. Gilded Dream buffs damage and elemental mastery, which is extremely useful in early stage. Paradise buffs all bloom related damage by 40%. Cinder City set gives a 40% damage bonus if using a Natlan character. Instructor provides a universal 120 elemental mastery. Each of these sets do not need good rolls. They could just be focused on buffing the team's damage. The worst part about artifacts is their substats and their main stats. Each time you roll on an artifact, you get substats. With each 4 levels, you gain a new roll or an additional potential level to a random artifact substat. The only real substat needs explaining is Elemental Mastery. Elemental Mastery is how much elemental reactions get buffed while dealing damage. Mainly the reactions, a part of them. So if you have a higher elemental mastery, it means reactions like Vaporize and Melt will have a higher damage output. You do not need to level every artifact you come across. Only use the ones that are actively on your main characters that you use in your teams. Combat is a core part of Genshin, and each character has a unique kit. Every character has a normal attack. Some are unique and are the main focus of each character's kit. Every character has a unique skill, and when used, puts their skill on a cooldown. Every character except for 2 needs energy. When they gain energy, they can use their ultimate. Some weapons allow for extra energy gain to perform moves like this.
Let the mighty be humble!
Every ultimate has a purpose. Some is to deal damage, to buff, or apply the element. Every character has 3 talents, and they affect how they either deal damage or buff. When you build your team, if you have 2 characters of the same element, they will trigger their elemental resonance. This can affect team building. For instance, if you want an HP DPS team, you'd most likely want 2 Hydro for the Hydro resonance, which gives extra health. When you build a character, you should look at what a character scales off of. Not every character wants attack. Some characters want HP percentage to increase their damage. Swirl is triggered by Anemo and any applicable element. Bloom is when you apply Hydro and Dendro to create cores that explode. Hyper Bloom is once you create bloom cores, you use Electro to instantly explode them, which home onto enemies. Burgeon is when you create a bloom core and you apply Pyro to detonate the core. Burning is when you just apply Dendro and Pyro, which is also known as arson. Electrocharge is when you use Hydro and Electro to shock enemy. This spreads to other nearby enemies if they're affected by Hydro too. Overload is when you use Pyro and Electro together. Aggravate and Quicken are when you use Electro and Dendro together. They scale off elemental mastery. Superconduct is when you use Cryo and Electro. It shreds enemies' physical resistance by 40%. Freeze is when you use Cryo and Hydro. It freezes the enemy, obviously. Vaporize is when you use Hydro and Pyro. Melt is when you use Pyro and Cryo. Crystallize is when you mix Geo with any element. It creates a mini shield, but it isn't that effective. Shatter is when you freeze an enemy and then you break it with a claymore. Do not rely on it. It's dog shit. Make sure you do not forget about food because it not only buffs your characters, but it can also heal them. There are several free 4-star characters. There is Amber, Kai, and Lisa, and they are given at the beginning of the game after you complete their quest. Barbara is given out after you complete the Mondstadt Archon quest, and she is a healer. After you clear Spiral Abyss floor 3 and 4, you get free Kale and Jangling. You unlock Lynette for free once you hit AR 25. You can get Kachina for free once you start Natlan's story quest. You can get Noelle if you pull on the beginner banner, but once again, I don't recommend it. Around January every year, there is Lantern Rite. You can select a free 4-star character from Leeway. You can also use the main character. If you want to change your elements, go to a region of the element you want and have them active when you select on the tower. I recommend using Dendro. Along with free characters, there are free weapons too. They're gone through forging, quests, and fishing. This will not cover every weapon, but it will cover the majority of the useful ones. The Favonius Warbow is given them during the same time you get Barbara for free. The catch is obtained in Inazuma from doing fishing. I recommend looking up guides of where to go collect the fish in Inazuma. The Iron Sting is obtained via forging and provides the user elemental mastery. The Sapwood Blade provides the user energy recharge and can be forged. However, it needs the player to reach a certain part of the R&R quest line. The Prototype Amber is a forging weapon that is useful for HP scalers and healers. As you explore, you should save at least 3 sets of R5 3-star weapons, since once they are gone, they won't ever come back to your world unless there's an expansion in that region. If you talk to one of the vendors in Liyue, he will give you a free Dark Iron sword. This is a limited time sword, and there's only 2 in the whole world, so store them and do not get rid of them. Before I continue, I have to emphasize that Catch is a really good weapon. It is many polearm characters' best free-to-play option due to its damage, energy, and crit rate boost. During the flagship events, sometimes Genshin gives out 4-star weapons. Once the event, no previous weapon has ever come back. The best free-to-play team is Barbara, Lisa, Dendro MC, and Colin. Make sure you use Instructor and Gilded Dreams for your artifacts to boost elemental mastery. And use Lisa to trigger the balloons to make them hyper balloon reactions. There are other 4-star characters that can buff your team. For instance, Bennett, when using his ult, boosts your active character's attack, and with Constellation 1, his healing restriction is removed. With Shangcho's ultimate, he provides amazing off-field hydro application. Fischl applies off-field electro application and has amazing constellations. With Sucrose, both her ult and skill are amazing for crowd control. Cookie Shinobu can provide off-field electro application and healing. She can also replace Lisa in your Bloom teams. Auroran is amazing in electrocharge teams and can use in her city. Also, he's very funny.
Good day, all. Gramps, grannies, aunts, and uncles.
Eonson can buff characters' attack based on how much they move. Lanyon, Diona, and Layla can provide shields to your team so you do not have to focus on dodging as much. Here we will talk about dailies. They are something you should do every single day. First is your daily commission, where you have to take on 4 quests. These quests provide a total of 60 Primogems. Once you hit AR-24, you get something called encounter points. When you explore and claim rewards from exploration or events, or completing quests, you can build up your points. With these points, every time you consume 30 resin, it lets you complete one of your daily missions. So if you use 120 resin per day, simply by condensing your resin, you can complete your daily missions the fastest way possible. You should also try and complete your daily mission battle pass to get the rewards from them. Your last daily is resin. Do your best to not let it cap, since it's a time-gated resource. Now the must and must not do's in Genshin. The first must do is increasing your stamina by collecting Oculus. When you increase your stamina, it makes combat and exploration easier. The max stamina cap is 240. Another must do is the entire previous section of dailies. Once a month, the shop resets, and you should always get the Intertwined and Acquaint Fate as a priority. Now for the not do's. You should never purchase any of the enemy material drops, since you could farm them in the overworld, and it's a waste of potential pulls. Another not do is consuming your fragile resin you get through the battle pass and exploration. You should wait until AR-55 to use your fragile resin. This is due to being able to join the max player's world and able to get the most out of your resin drops. The last not do is using your Sanctifying Elixir and Dust of Enlightenment early on in the game. They are very powerful items useful in the endgame when you're close to completing your character. However, this is your account. You should not let me tell you what to do. If you want to save time, feel free to use them. We all do questionable things on our account, and you can do whatever you want, even if it's stupid. There are 3 endgame modes. There's Spiral Abyss, Imaginarian Theater, and Stygian Onslaught. Spiral Abyss unlocks the AR-20 and involves defeating all the enemies within a certain time period. The faster you can do it, the higher rewards you get. Floors 1 through 8 do not reset. However, once a month, floors 9 through 12 do reset, providing you the rewards again once you can clear it. There are 2 buffs in this. The Abyssal Moon, which gives a buff that lasts throughout all of it, and the cards, which aren't worth building your build around, however, they do provide nice benefits. Genshin's second endgame mode is Imaginary Theater and it unlocks an AR-35. This game mode's reward resets on the first of the month. It is a roster check in which there will be only all the characters allowed from 3 specific elements. You will be provided 2 characters from each element, 1 4-star and 1 5-star. This game mode has 4 levels. The easiest, which is 8 to 10 characters with 3 stages. The second, normal, which is 12 through 14 characters with 6 stages. Hard mode, 16 through 20 characters with 8 stations. And Visionary mode, the hardest, with 10 stages, and you need 22 through 26 characters. The strategy to this game mode is managing your teams for future stages and also planning your buffs. When you complete a challenge, you get something called Phantasmal Flowers, which let you select a buff. These buffs have their own tree, which lets you choose the buffs from. You can only go down a certain path. Genshin's newest endgame mode, Stygian Onslaught, requires 3 teams to defeat 3 unique bosses. However, I recommend only on clearing the first 3 stages, which provide a total of 450 Primogems. The rewards reset on the 10th day of the newest patch. For the first 3 stages, you can repeat your team, but anything past that requires each party to consist of unique members. You can co-op the first 4 stages to get the rewards. However, the stages beyond that require solo gameplay. When it comes to Genshin tier lists, you should never trust them because most of the sites do not explain their placement well at all. Another thing is, you should never trust a character showcase. This is because these characters tend to be heavily invested and are not realistic free-to-play players. They often also involve constellations which are not available to most players, unless that player pulls for the pulls instead. Genshin does not have any meta. The only real meta is the newest character, which is usually shielded out in the latest Spiral Abyss with the buffs that are provided, or the newest game modes or endgame modes. One site I recommend you use is a Genshin interactive map. It shows every single item on Genshin on an online map. When I mean everything, it's everything. Every single Oculus, chest, quest, all of it. You can also choose to mark them complete, so it helps you when it comes to exploration. You can filter what is shown and not shown as well, which is extremely useful. Along with local specialties, it shows every single enemy. So while the adventure handbook shows you some, this will show you all of it. It also shows videos as well, which will help you find things or complete puzzles as well that you cannot do or don't feel like trying to brute force. This section is for random stuff I could not have put in the video or find a spot in. Use your adventurer handbook. It shows you the location of enemies on the map and bosses, and it helps with tracking them too. When looking for local specialties, go into your inventory and hit the Go Collect. It shows you the location of them on the map or specifically the general area. You do not have to do this all the time. I certainly don't, but you can use a parametric transformer for resources. If you look it up on the internet, there's a guide that tells you what materials and drops you put in for certain outcomes. It is not random, it is determined by what you put in and what type of resource you use. Once you reach Mondstadt Reputation level 6, you could get a custom teleporter that lasts for 7 days and only one can exist. It's very useful for bosses that are very annoying to walk to every single time. In Fontaine, once you reach Reputation level 3, you could get Crystalfied Trap. Once you place it down, After a full week, you get 15 crystal cores. It is a very useful way if you don't want to constantly be farming it. If you head to this spot in Leeway, there is a chest that gives you 200,000 Mora for free. If you head here in Inazuma into the tea house, there is a chest back there that gives you 180k Mora for free. You should max out your Serenity Teapot as soon as possible because the more currency you produce lets you trade it in for more resources. The Pinefold's Greeting provides the most content per spot. When your characters are downed and are low on health, head to the Statue of 7. It max heals you and it saves you on food and having to wait on your characters to heal. This can be done by setting the auto recovery to max. Currently, the biggest issue with Genshin is the limited time events, causing players to miss out on the story and certain unique events. As I mentioned before, the limited time events, once they are gone forever, with some exceptions like the Shanha story quests, unless you watch them through YouTube. This is terrible because it locks players out of unique weapons that are permanently gone, character interactions which are unique, and unique lore that it will foreshadow future events. What is currently playing is an Inazuma quest, and the first time you meet the Balladeer, or rather, properly put, the first time I personally met the Balladeer. As I said at the beginning of the video, I played Genshin at version 2.4 and have always been playing it since. However, 1.1 players got to meet him, while I didn't. Here is the first real time you meet him in version 1.1, in which only, one of the OG players get to experience the story with Scaramouche, and the first time we met him. This causes players to lose out on hype for certain characters and not understanding their lore importance. Also, this event mentioned a major lore bomb that was not mentioned until version 3.2 during the end of Sumeru's Archon quest. As of right now, there is no way to replay these old events except through watching them on YouTube. There are another issue with these limited time events, and it is the weapons that are associated. Some characters' best in slot weapons or best free to play weapons in general are locked behind limited time events that can no longer be accessed. For instance, the Spinbar Sinnoh was made for Albedo originally as his event weapon. However, it is a really great sword for many characters, however, not many get to use them. I'll provide another example of these weapons that are not brought up again, however, are a character's best free-to-play option.
For instance, Orsworn Eye was released in version 2.5 and did not have a best in slot user until version 4.3 when Zanyun released. It is Zanyun's currently best free-to-play weapon in the game.
Here are things I have done differently that I wish I would have known about personally. For instance, I did not know about the 20-hour commissions and how to set them. This would have made mining and farming a lot easier when it came to getting certain forging items. This would have also helped with completing the battle pass a lot easier. And when it came to forging, there's a whole list of items that will be shown here, which would have helped to know about. Another would be farming ley lines earlier, so I would have had more materials to work with. I didn't realize about condensed resin, which I've explained before, and its uses. It makes farming infinitely easier and less tedious. Do not go leveling every single character you see early on, since it's better to prepare for the next world level so you won't have your ass handed. What I would have done different the most is not rush the game. When I first started playing, the map looked like this.
Now it's this massive. Because I had rushed, I had missed out on so many story quests, and I did it just for the Primogems. This game has a long depth, and I wish I had taken my time with it. I wish I had taken my time. There are several story quests I had rushed through for just Primogems, and I completed the game in 2 or 3 months, minus 100%ing the map and the endgame game mode. As a fan favorite character once said,
Every journey has its final day. Don't rush.
Thank you all for watching. This is my first real YouTube video. This took around 20 pages worth of script, and I would like to continue making videos. Please let me know how I can improve on the videos going forward, and thank you all for watching. Until next time.
Bye bye!